This final lecture will focus on two topics, on religion as social narcotic and religion as capitalist ideology. I will leave the rest for your own study, especially on the provocative legacy of Marx, which will serve as sort of an evaluation of his philosophy. First, on religion as social narcotic. If you ask the question, where does religion come from? Asa man gikan ng relihiyon? Like fewer back, Marx holds that man makes religion, religion does not make man. So pasabot ani, gusto niyang itudlo nga ang relihiyon does not come from a source outside of the human person. It does not come from a supreme being. It does not come from a supreme being trying to reveal himself. Also, it does not come from human nature itself. For example, the instincts. He does not believe that it comes from the instinctive dimension of the human person. Instead, he says, religious consciousness arises out of actual human conditions. Ang religious sentiment for him is a product of social conditions. Produkto sa kahimtang sa tao. It is for him a reflection of the real world. It is a duplicate of the world, but a duplicate that inverts as in a mirror the object it is reflecting. Very interesting description of religion. Para niya, it is a reflection of the real world, a duplicate but inverted, gibali. And so he says religion is giving us a picture of the actual human condition in an inverted way. So in a sense, ang relihiyon murag description nga binali. Mingon ta, for example, nga kung maunay akong gihandom nga kahimtang, kanang maong gihandom nga kahimtang is in effect saying nga dili na mao ang actual nga kahimtang nga akong giagian. In one sense, he says, religion is a symptom. Symptom. Kana bitong hilantan ka, ang hilanat is a symptom of an infection inside. So dili gyud na ang hilanat dili gyud na mao ang sakit. It is a symptom of the real disease, of the infection that is inside the body. So he says religion is like a symptom, a manifestation that things are not well. Kaya para niya ingon siya, why would people create a glorious fantasy world if they were contented in the real world? Para niya, ang relihiyon, murabag, is an expression of the longing of people. Pero nganong create maglonging ang mga tao through religion kung kontento pa sila sa tinuod nga kalibutan? Where conditions are less humane, there emerges religion. Diin, kung hain manggani nga ang kahimtang lisod, at tumutumaw ang relihiyon, because it is an expression of reality that is inverted. And then Marx says that religion is a social narcotic. Kanang narcotic sa ato pa ng pinulungan o tambal alang sa katilingban, social narcotic. It is the opium of the people. Famous kayo siya anang maong slogan, religion is the opium of the people. Opium is like a drug. Okay. And people here does not include everybody. It refers specifically to the proletariat, to the working class, to the laborers, to the poor. So the working class, the poor, takes its opium, takes its drug, which is religion, in response to actual pain. Just as the drug addict or the alcoholic is seeking relief from his condition through drugs or alcohol, so it is with the oppressed vis-a-vis religion. So, tanaw ni Marx, ang relihiyon murag tambal nga tumaron sa mga kabos, tumaron sa mga pobre, tungod kay na sila gisinati nga kasakit. That's why it's called the opium of the people. And it is not something that is imposed, wa sila pugsa ana. It is willingly taken by the proletariat because it gives them consolation. So sama nga ang alcohol adunay epekto sa manginumay, ang relihiyon pod adunay epekto sa mudawat niini. Unsa man ang epekto? It provides consolation. It makes the proletariat, the working class, the poor people enter into sleep in which the misery of their present condition is forgotten and in which dreams are fulfilled in heaven. So ingana ang panglantaw ni Marx. Ang libro nag-summarize sa epekto sa relihiyon diya sa kahimtang sa mga kabus. Una, how does religion reinforce the status quo? How does it support the present situation which is exploitative of the poor? Ang libro naghatag duha ka major answers to this question. How does religion reinforce the status quo? First, it reinforces the status quo by rationalization of the existing order. Rationalization of the existing order. Kasi pasabot ani. Kasi pasabot ang rationalization by giving justification sa existing order, sa existing situation. Panalitan, religion minimizes and justifies suffering by means of its teachings. Kana bitong giingon sa Biblia pananglitan nga the sufferings of the present are as nothing compared to the joy that awaits in heaven. Murag giingnan bitaw ang mga pobre nga ug mga nag-antos nga antusan lang na ninyo, agontahan lang tungod kay layo ra na sa kalipay nga nagpaabot unya dito sa langit. Or when the Bible says the treasure on which we should set our hearts is not of this world. Or when the Bible says for the just, sufferings are a test of the genuineness of their faith. So, kini mo ang mga pagtulunan nga atong madungog gikan sa balaang kasulatan o sa mga magwawali o diha sa mga pagtulunan sa simbahan, nagatangtang sa rason nganong maningkamot nga mausab ang atong katilingban. These teachings remove the reasons for rebelling against sufferings and iniquities of this present life. Okay? Now, usahay pod, ang relihiyon nag-rationalize pod sa atong mga kasakit, sa atong kakabos, sa atong kapobrehon, pinagi sa pagsulti nga bayad din sa inyong mga sala. Sufferings are sometimes rationalized by religion as divine punishment for sins. And it also legitimizes the authority of the state. Okay, mayon man ang relihiyon nga you submit to authority because all authority comes from God. So that's the first way by which religion reinforces the status quo. The second is by way of inculcation of servile virtues. Kana bitong itudluan gyud ta nga panalitan nga nang maingon nga give the other cheek when you are slapped, yatag ang pikas kung ikaw sagpaon, love and pray for enemies. Okay. So somehow we internalize attitudes that perpetuate exploitation. Murabag itudluan ta sa relihiyon og mga kunuhay virtues, apan kining mga virtues mao'y mag-perpetuate, magpadayon sa atong kahimtang. So para ni Marx, Christianity preaches cowardice, self-contempt, abasement, and submission, which are qualities of a dog in relation to its master. So instead of liberating the poor, the oppressed, religion reinforces the condition of exploitation. And like a drug, sama sa usa ka drug, it is addictive. So once you start taking it, you will require it even more. So the poor is trapped in a vicious circle. The use of religion as drug requires that the person continues to take it. And finally, religion as capitalist ideology. Unsa man ang ideology? Si Marx na sa specific description of ideology. Para niya, ideology is the idea system of the capitalist class. Okay. So, idea system, sistema sa panglantaw. Kinsang panlantaw? Panglantaw sa mga kapitalista because they are the dominant class. For Marx, religion is not just any ideology. It is the summit of the ideological superstructure of human consciousness. So, ang relihiyon, apil sa idea system sa mga kapitalista. Murag mao ni siya nag-integrate, nagtahi sa lain-laing aspeto sa kinabuhi. It is the keystone which holds the entire edifice together. It provides the ultimate sanction for the existing social order. And it reinforces everything that is in the present situation, in the status quo. So again, how does religion benefit the capitalist class? Una, by deflecting to heaven the hope for better life. Murag ang relihiyon nagtudlo sa mga pobre nga, ang tusa lang ninyo, anyway, naay-premyo dito niya sa langit. Nya, ikaduha, napoy murag tendency sa relihiyon nga moingon, this is part of the divine will. Atong dawaton lang ni kay kabubuton sa Ginoo. Nya, ang pagtudlo ang gitawag og servile virtues. So, nindot kayo, well, from the perspective of the dominant class, importante kayo ang relihiyon aron pagpadayon sa kahintang diin adunay murag oppression batok sa mga kabus. Now, kung atong balihon ang pangutana, una ganina nagiskuta, if religion functions as drug, as opium for the poor, for the working class, the question worth noting is, kung atong balihon, kanang mga bourgeois, kanang mga kapitalista, nganong nidawat man po na sila relihiyon? How does it function for them? Nya ang tubag ni Marx mao nga kanang religion does not only hold the proletariat in submission. It also legitimizes the way of life of the capitalist class. So kung ang relihiyon mura o addictive drug para sa mga working class, para sa mga pobre, mga kabos, relihiyon also nag-function po siya sa mga adunahan, sa mga kapitalista as a sign of divine election and blessing. Kung ikaw dato niya nagtuo ka Ginoo niya naapil ka sa relihiyon, ang imong tan-aw sa imong kaugalingon nga gipanalanginan gyud kas Ginoo nga apil gyud sa Dios nung kabubuton nga mao nay imong kahimtang. In other words, if religion provides narcotic compensation for the proletariat, it also provides confirmation or validation of the prevailing system which supports the dominant class. So it works both ways. No? It works for the proletariat, it also works for the bourgeois. Now, we are told that the aim of Marx is not simply to diagnose, dili lang ang pagkritik sa capitalist system, but above all, to overthrow the system itself. Gusto gyud usbon ang kahimtang. But despite his attack on the social function of religion, Marx saw no point in attacking religious people and institutions directly. Uh, wa- oh, wala na sa wala na ma-appeal sa panglantaw ni Marx nga kinahanglan imong i-persecute ang mga religious leaders, imo silang gukdon, imo silang i-restrict sa ilahang mga religious practices. Kaya para niya, the criticism of religion is part of the preparation for a social revolution. Para niya, once it is complete, once the criticism of religion is completed, and once it is followed by criticism of the other dimensions of social life, masabta na gani sa mga tao ang ilang kahimtang, people will now move to revolt and overthrow the system in which they are enslaved. And this revolutionary social change will abolish religion without having to attack directly religious people. So people can now overthrow the system in which they are debased and enslaved. So para nako, very interesting ang iyang criticism of religion, and to some extent, it makes you think of our own preaching, of our own approaches to understanding the gospel message. So with that, we end our lectures on Karl Marx. I will, as I mentioned in the beginning, I will leave you with studying on your own the last part of the textbook on the provocative legacy.